Okay, today we're going to add on two more properties of exponents. One has to do with the first one is dealing with the zero exponent. So first thing I want you guys to do is take your calculator and go ahead and type in these into your calculator. Type in 25 to the 0, try negative 10 to the 0, 300 to the 0. So pause the video at this moment and type these in. So I'll just do the first one. So 25, this button, button right here above the division sign, it's called a caret key. That's your exponent. So 25 to the 0 is 1, and you should have noticed that all of these were equal to 1. So the rule is anything to the 0 power is always 1. So let's go through and apply it to all of these. So this is going to become 1. This is 1. So x to the 0 is 1. All of this is raised to the 0 power, so this whole thing becomes 1. Where you have to be careful is problems like 5 and 6. Notice only the x to the 0 becomes 1. So this becomes 1, but there's still a 3 in the front, so this is really 3. This x to the 0 also becomes 1, but the negative 7 is not to the 0 power because the whole thing's not in parentheses, so this is negative 7. Okay. Now, next thing, the last rule for today is dealing with negative exponents. Okay, so what I want you to do is take your calculator and type all of these into your calculator, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and give me your answer as a fraction. So pause the video and type those in and see what you get. Okay. So what you should have gotten on the calculator, this should give you 1/2 on the calculator, this should give you 1/9, this is going to give you 4, and should give you 18. Okay. What happens when you have a negative exponent is, if you look, notice the number does not become negative. It has nothing to do with the sign of the number. What happens is this number ends up going to the bottom of the fraction. Or another way to think about it is it flips places where it is. So think of this like this. So this ends up going to the bottom. 3 squared is 9. Here, this ends up going to the top. So that's why 2 squared ends up being 4. Here, the 3 squared goes up on the top. And then 3 squared is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. So here's the general rule when you have a negative exponent. So when you have a negative exponent, if it's on the top, it goes to the bottom. If the negative exponent's on the bottom, then it's going to go on the top. So it just flips places where it is on the fraction. So let's try a couple of the problems with that. So here, x to the negative 4, the x to the 4th goes to the bottom. Now if you have nothing left, you do have to write a 1 on the top because really there is a 1 in front of this x, but you don't see it written. Okay, this is going to end up going to the top. You do not have to write this 1 here, and if there's nothing left on the bottom, you don't have to write a 1 on the bottom. Okay, number 7. So this x will end up going to the bottom, and when it flips places, notice you do not have a negative exponent anymore. That exponent becomes positive. This is going to go on the top, and that exponent becomes positive. Okay, so again, be careful with problems like this. Notice only the x has a negative exponent. So the x drops to the bottom. This 2 is going to stay. Okay, look at number 9. This y is going to go to the top. All of this on the top is still positive exponents, so you're just going to leave it so that you don't do anything with those. It just stays on the top. And then last one, number 10. The x goes to the bottom. Remember, you don't want to have negative exponents in your answers, but it's okay if the number is negative. This is just a negative 4. That's going to stay on the top. Okay, now let's try a couple problems at the bottom where we put all the different pieces together. So this is the order that you should do things. Step 1 is always distribute. So if you see a power to a power, you're going to do that first. Step 2 is get rid of the negative exponents. And then the last step is to simplify everything else. That means reduce fractions, all that kind of stuff, and multiply out numbers. Okay, so step 1, do I see anything to distribute? Is there a power to a power? Do I see a parentheses? No. Step 2, let's get rid of our negative exponents. The only thing that has a negative exponent is that one. So I'm going to move that up to the top. Everything else is going to stay exactly as is. So I'm going to leave this here. The 12 is still on the bottom. Now the last step is to simplify the rest of it. That means do your numbers first, reduce it or multiply if you need to. So I have 8 divided by 12, reduce that on your calculator. 8 divided by 12 reduces to 2/3. And then here is your other property of exponents from yesterday. What do I do with them when I multiply the x's? I add them so you have an x to the 5th on the top. This is my final answer. Okay, the next one. Okay, when I say distribute, it just means when you have a power to a power. So when you have something like this, okay? There's no power to a power going on. Do I see any negative exponents? No. So last thing is to simplify. Really, you don't need these parentheses there. Everything's just getting multiplied. So let's start with our number. 2 times 6 is 12. And what do I do with the exponents when I multiply the x's? I add them. So this is 12x to the 9th. Okay, number 3. This is what I mean by distributing. You have everything raised to another power. So this little 2 has to go to the 3. It also has to go to the x. And what do we do with the exponents? We multiply. So this is x to the negative 6. Step 2, get rid of your negative exponents. This stays where it is. This is going to go to the bottom. And last step, simplify. So multiply out numbers, divide. So I'm going to write that 3 squared as a 9. So this is my final answer. Okay, last one. Do I have a power to a power? No. So nothing to distribute. Do I have any negative exponents? No. So I just need to go through and simplify the numbers and the x's. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Or 2 over 1 if you want to. Look at your x's. I have more x's on the bottom. How many more x's? I have 2. It's 5 minus 3. This is it. You are done.